Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jose, and if you just got here, this is my digital diary where I update a lot of what has been going on in my life for the past 2 to 3 years, I believe. And let me start by saying that the video that you guys are watching right now, this has been filmed, recorded with my phone, with my iPhone. Cause as of yesterday, I shipped my DJI camera back to the factory, and because I'm in Italy, ciao, the closest factory was in France, so I had to use DHL to ship it to the factory, which in a couple of days I'm going to receive a quote on how much it will cost me for repair. So fingers crossed, it's not gonna be that expensive, and hopefully we're gonna get the camera soon enough just to film content for you guys. And it's been a week already that I'm in Italy. I'm specifically in just an hour outside of Milan, so still close to a very touristic area. And oh boy, a lot has happened in the last couple of weeks. I believe that when I was in Switzerland, still I recorded a video for you guys telling all about the current status on my employment, my regular 9 to 5, which when I got it, I posted a video about me being happy at work, me finally feeling happy with the life that I was getting back, just having a 9 to 5 and working at just regular hours with a regular team in a regular company. But however, that evolved to me discovering the real behind the scenes for that company. And I discovered that they were not a good fit to me, and that we didn't work well together, and there were a lot of toxic stuff going on in that company. So I decided to leave, but that was literally 2 months ago. Now we're in August, so it's been 2 months already that I put in my 4 weeks notice. Somehow the 4 weeks notice turned into another 4 weeks notice, and I am just waiting to hear anything on the update on that, because I just don't want to leave the company like I'm running away from something, right? But you have to admit that enough is enough. You get to a point where you don't feel like you're evolving or developing, and also the communication that I was having, they did not do any well to me, so I decided to leave. But it's taking longer than I anticipated, and because of that, that made me not only start to apply to jobs and sending a lot of applications since 2 months ago, but I got into a few interviews, a lot of rejections emails, and I don't feel like I'm getting close to securing a new job. But it is what it is, right? And in the meantime, my life has been moving, right? Life keeps happening. Either if you're doing what you want, you just having a bad time, life keeps happening either way. So that was also part of my plans to go from Switzerland to Italy. So that's what I did, and I'm gonna be here in Italy for a couple of weeks. I had a lot of content planned to shoot and to record and to edit for you guys, but because of DJI camera battery not charging up, I had a huge problem that I was not anticipating, especially because it's within the 12 month period of time since I bought it. So hopefully I still have some warranty left to back me up on that matter. And I don't know, I was hoping that I could have the camera just to shoot content for you guys, as I did throughout the whole month that I was in Switzerland. And oh boy, I shoot content, a lot of videos, just me cooking, me hiking, me talking heads, just like I'm doing right now in front of a camera. And I did have a lot of time talking to you guys about a lot of things that were happening with me at that time. And just so we can close up and just finishing up the Switzerland chapter, I wanted to talk to you about the few days that I went on in Switzerland. So this is also going to be a little bit of how I have been working towards the goal that I wanted, which is to have a relationship, right? secure and stable and long relationship with someone, just not going to hookups or having overnights, right? So I always, whenever I meet someone, I always tell them, hey, I'm not looking for any fun, any hookups. That's just not me. That's not what I'm looking for right now. And most of them, they get it. They do respect that decision, and they go, okay, this is not a match. This is not a fit. So we can just go separate and we can become friends actually. But I'm gonna highlight to you guys 2 dates that I went on from the people that seem to have the same mentality as me from the beginning, and they became part of the people that I'm gonna be sharing the stories with you guys today. So the first guy, he's 62. I know, a little bit older than I am, as you know, or you may not know. I'm 28 right now, and I always have been fascinated with how mature and older people they get on with life, right? Because they seem to have it all figured out, and I wanted to be with someone who knew what they wanted, and also they knew how to act, or they would have something already going on with their lives, right? Because people my age, and that's not an accusation or not to be pointless, not at all. They are still in the phase of discovering what they want to do with their lives. They mainly are going to school, college. They are getting a master's. They are living with roommates, and that's all good, right? That's not a problem with that. And this guy that he's older than me, he was living in the same village that I was at when I was in Switzerland. So you can imagine a village being a couple of houses, wooden houses, up in the mountains, in the alpine region in Switzerland. And I could always tell by the looks that I was receiving whenever I was just walking around the neighborhood, and I had a little bit of time to do that, because that's something that I always enjoy doing, just like walking around the sunset and also before sunset. And that's always one of the phrases that stuck with me, because I always would tell people, yeah, you're gonna find me chasing the sunset. And because of that, I always had a passion for the golden hour. And when I used to have like the digital cameras, Canon, Sony, the ones that I sold in London a year ago, I used to always go whenever we had sunsets, just to catch the golden hour pictures and do portraits. But coming back to the story, so I was always going for walks around the neighborhood, just by the villages and the mountains, and that was always like 30 to 40 minutes before sunset, right? And because of that, you could always tell by the upper houses up in the mountain, up in the hill, that they were always someone looking down on me. And I always felt like I was being watched, not in a way that, someone was hiding behind the door, but that was just something common, because they were looking at someone that is not white. I'm not blonde, I don't have blue eyes, so I wouldn't fit the exact population that would be living in that area, if that makes sense. And I totally get that. There is nothing wrong with that. I'm just, telling how it is, right? And I always felt those looks of people, sometimes funny looks, and how they would look at me. Sometimes I would always try to say bonjour, ça va, and not always they would say it back, which I found it to be weird, because if I was talking to you, why wouldn't you just say it back, right? What was the problem with that? And one of the people that was looking down on me was this guy who was 62. And he was always looking at me at the same time every day, because I had this thing that I could take some break from work. And I would just do this, right? Because I wanted to see the sun setting down up in the hill, down to the mountains. So that's something that I was always trying to do. And one of the days that I was actually doing it, he came by to me and he was like, hey, who are you? What were you doing here? And I know that if you are in the USA, and you hear those words from someone, that is probably gonna not end up well, and you're gonna probably be a victim of racism. But at that time, I didn't feel like that at all, especially the way that he put it out was very soft and well-educated tone that he used to to sound and to voice that phrase. And I responded to him. I would say da da da. I'm gonna be here, for a couple of weeks because I'm working, but I'm also traveling at the same time. I'm working remotely, U.S. Hours, and blah blah blah. And we would eventually catch on going on a couple of dates because I was like, why not? I want to get to know the city. I want to get to know the country, the locals, the food, the culture, the dancing. So we went on a couple of dates. And one of the times that we were having dinner at this local place nearby the chalet that I was staying at, he asked me, what is it that with you guys that are Latinos that you always feel the necessity of showing out and always being loud and also like being sexy? I mean, why don't you guys just like behave in a way that it's proper? And from that moment, I was a little set back with the question because I did not understand where the question was coming from. And I immediately responded to him, say, what do you mean? What do you want to mean by that question, right? Because it doesn't make sense to me. Are you fucking crazy? What were you talking about? No, not like that. I was actually in my head talking like that, but I was literally sitting in front of him. And I responded like, what do you mean? Do you know when someone answers the questions with a slow-paced answer? That means that you're in trouble because that person's like processing it out and processing ways of shutting you down because you did not make a good question. Then that was me sitting in front of him and I was like, what do you mean? In my head, I added a little fuck. What the fuck do you mean? But I was composed. I held my post together and I was just waiting for him to get back to me, right? Because I was like, yeah, what the F do you mean? And he responded saying that people in Switzerland, they were well put together. They didn't swear. They did not wear any type of clothing that would, crave for attention. And they would not use foul language. And he implicated that Latino people would do that all the time. And I was like, no, that's not true. I'm sure that like basic geography, but Latino countries mostly have tropical weather. And because of that, we don't wear the same clothing as people in Norway do because it doesn't make sense. We don't have that kind of winter, so it doesn't make sense for us to wear that kind of clothing. And I was trying to explain to him from different perspectives that his question was just a little abusive and it doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense at all. And I was like, yeah, the way that I'm dressing right now, I have a t-shirt, a basic t-shirt. I was wearing these blue jeans and my boots. And I was like, this is not extravaganza. This is not screaming or anything. So I just don't get where the question is coming from. And he was like, no, because the picture in your WhatsApp, your profile picture in WhatsApp, it's you with no t-shirt on. And I was like, yeah, because that's my personal WhatsApp. And I get to choose the picture I'm gonna be posting in, right? Because that's just me. First, the only people that actually get to see the picture that I have on my WhatsApp are the people that I have saved their contact information. So it's not public information. You don't get to see my picture if you're not a friend of mine. So like your question doesn't make sense. And he insisted on saying these things that wouldn't make sense. And I think that we're just making up excuses just to back up the point of your argument that he was trying to make. And the things just made it all worse that I just immediately decided to walk away. I immediately stood up. I was literally sitting in front of him at the table and I decided to leave. And I walked past the other tables that were all having people eating and having lunch, blah, blah, blah. And having food and blah blah blah, and I walked towards the exit, but at the same time I was slowly walking, I was on my phone ordering an Uber. And let me tell you this, Uber in Switzerland is not cheap. Okay, if you ever paid for Uber in Europe, you know what I'm talking about, but especially Switzerland, because they have this local currency, it's called francs. And it's more expensive than euro and more expensive than dollars, USD. Of course, I knew that, but I never had the experience of ordering an Uber locally so that I could definitely have proof of that. So I got into the Uber, riding home, And he messaged me on WhatsApp saying, "Hey, I cannot believe you dismissed me. Like, what is up with that?" And I was like, "No, you don't understand. The way you talked to me, the way you were addressing the question that you were making doesn't make sense. You were being abusive. The way that you chose to be making the question just doesn't make sense at all. And you could have chosen so many ways, so many other ways to do that question, but instead you chose to be an asshole about it." And he was like, "No, I genuinely just had this question and I was curious to hear what you would say from me. And it doesn't hurt to look." And I was like, "Wait, what are you trying to say? Are you trying to apologize or are you just making it worse?" Because, you know, he never actually said, "I'm sorry." He never said anything like in the idea of apologizing. And I was like, that's why, you know, you think yourself to be so smart that you don't have anything keeping you for saying the things. You just go ahead and just say it, right? Because you just have a freed mind that you can say anything at any time. But that's not how it works. When you have someone else in front of you that you're developing a conversation, you have to mind the way you talk to people. You have to mind the way you even simply make questions to the person standing in front of you. So I was like, you know what? That is exactly why I walked away and I'm never gonna see you again. And he was so shocked because from what I understood, he was used to make uncomfortable questions to people all the time, and because they didn't know how to act, they didn't know how to answer, they would just take in and swallow that question and swallow the uncomfortableness. Is that a word? Or just making it up. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go and I'm not gonna speak to you ever again. Thank you for taking the time. If you need me to pay the bill, just send me a PayPal invitation. I'm gonna send the money in and we don't have to talk ever again. And that's what I did. That was really, really, really the beginning of my time in Switzerland. And I knew I had to make it up. Make it up by having someone with a better experience that I could have with that someone, just so I could overcompensate not having a cool date, right? Because it was going all well up until the point that he started making questions based on looks and ethnicity, and that made me comfortable up to the point that I had to leave. And the second guy, I was actually going to this bakery that I had close to the chalet that I was staying pretty much almost every morning because I was craving to have the croissant. It wasn't just, you know, a regular croissant. It was a croissant made out of pistachio seeds, but they also had fillings of pistachio with sour cream. So it was a little bit sour, but still sweet at the same time. And I was always going to that bakery every single morning to have that experience because I was like, I need this every single day. And that's when I realized I was having too much sugar in my life when I went to Switzerland, but that's for another video, right? And that guy, I was always running to him when I was going to the bakery because I think that was pretty common. The bakery was always filled with people. There was always a lot of people pulling up to the bakery and having the delicious cravings and sweets that they had. And I eventually was always gonna make the questions to the cashier in English because I don't speak French. And because of that, they realized that I was not from that, besides the way that I look, right? Because I swear to you, I was the only person that had black hair in that bakery the whole time that I went there. So that also helped me be the person that I was like, you know what? They might understand that I'm not from here, and that's okay, right? Because I'm still gonna be able to make my order. And he approached me, he was like, "Hey, where are you coming from? What are you doing here?" And I get the question, well, where are you from? And also, what are you doing here? Because I was coming from so far away to just be in the middle of the mountains that didn't make sense to anyone. I mean, the 2025 season for me is a time that I'm trying to be the least cliche that I can be. Okay, I know I did Madrid, I did London, and I did Budapest, which is kind of cliche. By starting Budapest, I was like, you know what, I should not do cliche cities and countries anymore. So I'm just gonna try to go to cities and countries that I've never been to, or cities in countries that I've been to, but I've never been to those cities. if that makes sense, right? So that's what I'm doing right now here in Italy. And I explained it to him the whole thing. I pretty much have a desk pitch line up and just to tell people whenever they ask me the question. And we went on a couple hikings and also just walking around because there were so much green trees and also just mountains that you could just mainly walk around. And one of the times I was like, I really like hanging out with this guy, and he was around my age. He was 28, the same age as me. And I was like, you know what, do you want to come back to my place? I'm working out, but I'm going to be wrapping up soon because, as you guys know, the US hours compared to Europe is kind of far. And right now I'm having to work between 3 to midnight, 3 to 11. And that's around the time that I was not available to me to meet up, right? So I always like, hey, do you want to come by now? You can either come in the morning or at noon, or you come just by evening, right? And he would never be able to make it before like 8 or 9 or 10 in the evening. And that was strange for me. And I was like, that there could be two options. Either this guy is like closeted, he's not out as I am, or he has a family. And he is obviously doing these meeting ups and also meeting people behind the wife, the husband. I don't know exactly. Up to the point I was like, you know what, this is super late. I'm not gonna be able to hold a conversation with you because I'm so tired. I just want to sleep. Why don't you come by my place, let's say Saturday? He was like, no, why don't you come by my place Saturday for lunch? And I was like, you know what, I know where you live because it was like 2 minutes away from my home. And I was like, yeah, I can come by your place that Saturday, and we can have lunch, right? And that was the deal that I made with him. And 20 minutes prior to me actually having to go to his place, he was like, you know what, my sister just came by. She was with my siblings and the children, and now I have a full house and I don't have the capacity to accommodate you, so let's just reschedule it. And I was like, okay, you could have told me in advance that you were having people over at the same time as me, but you chose not to do that and just chose to tell me minutes before me coming to your place. That is strange, but yeah, we can do that. And we agreed on, that was me giving another chance to this dating thing in a foreign country. And I was like, yeah, let's do tomorrow, same time, no big deal, blah, 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 let's do it. Okay, it's Sunday, it's around the same time, 11:45, I think. I was getting myself ready. I went to his place. When I got to his place, it was this beautiful, gigantic house, wooden house up in the hill. And I was like, wow, you have such a beautiful and big house. And you live here by yourself? He was like, yeah, it's just me. I'm single. I have a construction company and I'm pretty much single. So that's how I've been living my life. And I was like, okay, wow, cool. And then he was showing me around the house, right? Because there were too many bedrooms. I think 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and 2 different floors. And besides the basement, and I was like, wow, this is a huge place just for one person alone to live here. So it does make sense, make it make sense. And he was like, no, yeah, I live by myself, but I have a big house because I always have family coming by. Up until we walked into this bedroom and there was a picture of him standing right next to a woman and 2 children. And I literally froze in that moment. My heart sank. And then I could feel my heart racing through my throat. And I was like, who are these people? And why are you standing right next to a woman and 2 children? And you look like this is your family portrait. It was like, no, this is my sister. Remember my sister that she came back to my house yesterday? That's her. And these are my nieces. And I was like, okay, cool. But even though I said cool, I was like, this doesn't feel right. This just doesn't feel good. And at that time, I was like, you know what? I'm not really feeling the vibe around here. Yeah, I'm not feeling the vibe overall. So I think I'm just gonna go. And I told him, you know what? I think it's kind of late. I'm just gonna go back to my place. And he was like, you know what? We didn't even have lunch. We didn't eat anything. Why don't you just stay and we can hang out? And I was like, you know what? I don't feel like you're being honest with me. And that picture right there just proves that all of the crazy thoughts that I thought I was having that were crazy, but that just confirmed that you literally have a family that you don't want to show them to me and you don't want to get me involved. And I get that. I also don't want to get involved with your family. But I'm looking for someone that is also single, just like I am, because I want to be able to build someone just like you have the picture of. And I was like, no, you are making this a big deal out of nothing. We can just chill. I don't have anyone. I'm not married in anything. But I didn't believe it. I didn't believe any of the things that he was telling me. And the more I was walking around the house, I was feeling like this is a house that he's definitely not alone. You can definitely tell by the place, the cups, the way the house is being put up, and all of the things, the decoration. It definitely feels like a family home, and it definitely has that touch to it. And that's when I decided to leave, because I was like, no, this is way too much for me. Imagine if the wife out of nowhere, out of the blue, show up at the house and is asking me, who are you? What are you doing at my home? I don't even know you. And she would be right to call the police even, because I was like, I don't even know you. Am I trespassing? And I don't know what the guy could eventually come up with, because he wouldn't tell her that we were seeing each other, right? He wouldn't say that. He wouldn't dare to end the marriage of so many years because he already had kids with her because of someone that just showed up at their village. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna leave. You can stay. We don't have to talk about this. We don't have to talk about this anymore, and we can just like end this here. And as I was walking down the village, because you have to go down a little bit to the chalet I was staying at, I started to realize it was sunset time. So I literally stopped and I sat on the grass and I started looking at the clouds that were a little yellowish, and they were starting to have this beautiful dance with the clouds and how it was moving up to a point that you could see the mountains, the clouds, but you also could see the city all from above. And I started to think, when am I going to have a single date that is going to work out? What about the possibility of me just like bumping to someone that you can eventually have that connection with, right? What about that? What about me having an opportunity of truly loving someone and being with someone just because it feels right, because we love each other? And it's just not happening, because here I am out there in a country that I don't speak the language, I don't speak French, and I'm trying to meet someone. I'm trying to be here with someone and trying to go on dates and trying to get the build up happening, but it's just not happening because it's not aligning. And just so you guys know, I vetted both of them at the things that I consider to be important for me. So I was always gonna ask them, are you single? Are you seeing someone else? Do you look for hookups overnight? Because that's not what I do. I'm not into hookups or even like hooking up with people, strangers that I've never met. I try to go in a couple of days and try to get to know them and just try to make questions, be questioned, laugh, and just have a moment where you can see the build up actually happening up until the point that you're going to eventually be with someone for a long time. And I know that my part of the quest I was always doing. I made the right questions. I even asked the uncomfortable ones sometimes, and I was always gonna make myself clear. I always make my objectives and my goals clear to them so they could relate to that or not. They could either choose to be part of my goals, or they could just say, you know what do you want right now is not aligning what I want, so I'm just gonna walk away. Okay, I wish you good luck, and right, we can be friends. We still can be friends. But that is why I'm always, spending my time on getting to know people, because I don't want to go and come to a place where I feel like I don't know that person, or they are having the secret life that I didn't know of or I didn't care to look into, right? And that's what I was trying to do. And those were actually my experiences with dating, or even looking into dating people from Switzerland for a very short period of time. And I wanted to share with you because that's pretty much what I do in the internet, right? I overshare everything that I do. And also, I don't know if I told you guys, but I think I commented in the and also because right now I don't have my camera, my DJI camera, so it's gonna be a little bit harder to get footage from Italy where I am right now. But I'm trying to do that. It's just gonna take a little longer to record, to edit, and to put it online. But I have a plan, and I'm gonna try to stick with them. And I hope that my experience was not that crazy, and I hope that my experience was not that bad, because I know from a personal experience I have worse. But I just wanted to sit here and share with you guys a little bit of how I was dating in Switzerland. And I'm actually ready and reset for dating in Italy. Yes, I'm ready for that, but I have to manage, right? Because I'm still working full time, and I'm still trying to make content. I'm still trying to have a good time. So that's a lot of action items that I'm trying to do. If you did like this video, make sure you click like right here. You subscribe to the channel, and you leave in the comments what you think. Have you guys ever met someone from Switzerland? Have you guys ever dated them? What was it like? Did you have a good time? I will try my best to keep updating you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.